Hi, I'm David Pearl, and this is King's Place in London. It's an arts venue, amazing place. I love it. It's a place I've had lots of fun. I've performed here a lot, and I've had a lot of fun both on stage and off stage, which makes it the perfect place for me to bring you to ask the question, what would it be like if working life had a backstage area? Let me explain. It's 6 o'clock, indeed it's 6 o'clock, and it's the end of your working day. I know a lot of us have to kind of imagine what that's like at the moment, but imagine you've been working in an office or at home or possibly out here in the real world, the front line. You get to the end of the day and boom, it's time for home life. And what's the first thing that happens? More work. There's things to organize, kids to feed, mini-series to watch. What if there was a place between work and home where you could go decompress, hang out with some other people who've been working really hard and have a good time? Come with me. Oh, by the way, when we're in the green room, which is where we're going, a few things to remember. First thing, nobody knows exactly what's going on. It's all improvised, so what happens, happens. Second thing, shoes off. Third thing, and this is really important, tonight's show is dedicated to the memory of a dear friend of ours, Sir Ken Robinson, who died recently. He was a master of playful creativity and he would have loved it. So Ken, if you're up there, you're very welcome too. Let's go. Welcome, and thank you for joining us here in the green room. Settle down. So King's Place couldn't fit us in the actual green room, so we've built our own. I hope that you like what we've done with the place. Well, show us around, take a look, come with me, come with me. So, behind me you can see we've got some guests. I'll come to them in a minute. But first I want to introduce you to a rarity in these COVID times, a live audience. And then over on the stage we have the world's only and probably best improvising opera company, Impropera. And then making this super special, we've not just got the audience in the room, we've got the audience out there in the land of the interweb on YouTube. Hello people. We know we've already got people in Israel, we've got people in Zambia. Thank you for joining us. So, it's time to introduce you to our guests. There's no point in being in a green room unless you're in it with wonderful people. And the people I'm about to introduce you to are wonderful. She's a writer. She's a stand-up. She made me laugh out loud at a book about Parkinson's disease. Welcome, the lovely Emma Lawton. She's a femtech entrepreneur, founder of the menopause startup Vera Health. I nearly got that wrong. Vera Health, short for Virago, right? And she is, without doubt, the best COVID picnic organizer I have ever met. She's Andrea Berkowitz. Joining us from Geneva, all the way from Geneva, is an intrapreneur, not an entrepreneur, but intrapreneur and corporate insurgent. He's the founder of the Craig Baroque Business Decelerator. He's Gib Bullock. Okay, we're warming up here. When he's not helping the Good Chance Theatre do their amazing work with refugees, he is Street Wisdom's poet at large. Philip Cowell is in the room. You've heard of psychologists, you've heard of sociologists. Well, this friend of mine, this dear friend of mine, is a psychosociologist. Joining us from her ICA community in Italy, Espera de Ananas Ametista. Ciao. Give him a pen, give him a crayon, give him a finger dipped in blood, and he'll do something amazingly artistic with it. He's our own reconstructed artist, the Green Room Gauguin, T-shirted Turner, he's Simon Heath. Finally. She's the editor of Psychologies magazine. We all know Psychologies magazine, right? She's an unstoppable creative force and lives on a houseboat not far from here. Susie Skywalker! Are we going to have a match night tonight? Yeah! And rest. I don't know about you, but I'm now exhausted. So, the thing about a green room is it's a weird thing that it's not a performance. It's the performance that is not a performance. So, does everyone have a drink? I mean,
yes, we do.
You all have a drink? Can we see you? Well, I think we need to bring the light up just a little so we can see your beautiful there's the audience. And everybody, you just kick off your shoes, actually or mentally, take off the masks, literally and figuratively, and we chill. Because the great thing about the green room is it's what I'm told is a liminal space. It's a space between one thing and the other. A lot of us have a professional mask, and we then have a personal mask. And in these weird COVID times, the space between those two is like squished. We end up, we're on the screens, and then the next minute we're in our homes, a lot of us, and there's no space in between. Well, we want to, just for tonight, open up 90-minute space in between where we can hang with peers and see what happens. Gear Bullock over in Geneva. The work we've done together in the Decelerator, you've got this lovely concept of Ma space. Can you just give us a little flavour of what Ma space is for you?
Sure. Ma in Scottish means mother, I suppose, but I discovered that in Japanese there's another thing. You talked about this liminal space, which I like, the space in between. And Ma space, I learned, is a Japanese term for intentional space. The space between the notes that make the music. And, again, in the business world, I think there's just too little of this kind of Ma space. We pack our agendas full, we pretend we're busy, we do one thing after the other. And just having a space to think and breathe and create is really quite important.
Andrew, what is on stage for you? Vira Health? What's on stage at the moment?
Well, it's Vera. So I think that lockdown actually helped me with my on-stage, off-stage, because as you said, it was like on the Zoom, with an investor, on the Zoom for Passover, on the Zoom with a friend who's having a birthday. And so like all of these things were in exactly the same form. But I had a very corporate life as well. My life on stage was kind of go to the next thing, get on the plane, sleep on the plane, show up, do the thing, do the other thing, get on the plane, go home, be terrible to my loved ones, get on the plane, go home, get on stage, be nice to strangers, come home, be terrible to people I actually care about. And I then took like 18 months off to try and figure out who I was and what I really wanted to do. And that's kind of how I got to Femtech, which we'll talk about later. But what's funny is in that 18 months, I think I did make a lot of progress and I did kind of figure out who my offstage person was. But again, in lockdown, it took like 5 minutes because you really were just one person and why get dressed, or why get dressed for this in a different way than you get dressed for that? Why put on makeup for this and not that? You are kind of one person all day, Zoom to Zoom. And that was actually a much more effective way of changing things.
If I stay indoors, I have nothing to wear. I will make the best of the blue sweater. It'll have to do. And now I step out. Highbury.
Simon, would you go and have a beer or something?
Oh,
and I'm going to come sit over here.
Gladly.
So Emma,
Hello.
Emma Lawton in the house. I met Emma when we were doing a talk about difficult things you've been through in life.
Yeah.
And I was booked to talk about the difficult time I had at university. And Emma was, well, Emma can tell us what she was booked to talk about. But Emma, I'm a huge fan. I can't help noticing you are a campaigner, you are a comedian, you are a champion, you are a writer, you're incredibly funny. But I can't help noticing you've also, somewhere along the line, you picked up Parkinson's disease. Is this something you've noticed too?
Yeah.
Do tell. How did this come about?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. They keep trying to find out. But yeah, around 7 years ago now, I discovered that I had Parkinson's, which was a massive shock because I'm not over 60 and male, so it kind of was a big surprise to me. And I think it's been the making of me in a weird way, but actually I didn't know that at the time. I thought it was going to be horrendous. So yeah, it's been an interesting life so far. I'm kind of enjoying myself.
It's amazing to watch you transform yourself, year on year. But what is life on stage for you at the moment? I mean, you're literally on stage in the sense that you do stand up.
Yeah.
Tell us, at the moment, what is life on stage like for you?
It's an interesting one because I feel like it's a responsibility, a really nice responsibility that I have, that actually I've become sort of a bit of a spokesperson for Parkinson's and positivity and things like that, which is lovely. I love it. But actually it's when you're speaking for a lot of people who maybe can't physically speak themselves or don't get the opportunities, it's kind of, you feel like you have to say things that are right for all of them, which is, you can't do that. You can never do that. So I think I kind of turned to humour in a way to be able to kind of be a bit kind of self-effacing about it, to kind of be able to make a joke. And I'm not kind of a gags aplenty sort of person. I'm kind of quippy, but actually being quippy about Parkinson's is great fun. It puts it in its place. So actually, I guess it takes responsibility off a little bit. I can be silly with it.
You remind me of something that a friend of ours, Esperida, introduced me to this man, Ken Campbell. Many of you might know Ken Campbell. He was one of the irascible guests at Fawlty Towers, a genius man. And he used to say, this is far too important to take seriously. And I get that a little bit from you, which is there's something about the way that it is clearly a serious subject, but you're very playful with it. Philip, you're doing amazing work with Good Chance Theatre and the refugee community there. Just what pings in you from what Emma says?
Well, I play for, I big up, I bang the drum for Good Chance Theatre, who, I don't know if you know, if you saw The Jungle, dear audience, the play that was on as a result of the time in the Calais jungle refugee camp.
If you've heard of The Jungle, murmur.
Hey, that's great.
Because this is quite a metropolitan audience, they do it anyway. Of course I know that.
Of course, I read that
even
book.
if they don't.
So it was, that 2015, that huge moment with the so-called refugee crisis. Was it actually more of a welcome crisis, where refugees from across the world, but particularly Syria, were sort of held in the Calais refugee camp, and my bosses, my 28-year-old bosses, Joe Murphy and Joe Robertson, went down, two playwrights, fresh out of college. Obviously hadn't done anything since then, went down to really try and help out. They didn't know what they wanted to do. They didn't know what they wanted to do. They just wanted to help out. They didn't want to do theatre. They didn't want to do theatre. And do you know what they did? They ended up putting up a theatre, didn't they? Because, of course, what they were hearing, all the murmurs, was community. They could see people dancing, they could see people playing, they could see little scenes were being enacted. And basically the Calais jungle didn't have one neutral space, like a community hall or a town hall. So they basically just... They built it with them. They built it all together, and then the jungle came out of it. And I basically, helped bang the drum. 5 years later, and we're still, we've got an exciting project.
So you're not really a drummer, though, are you? I mean, you bang the drum metaphorically, but you also poet.
Well, indeed.
What is the verb to poet? I poet.
To write.
To
write.
write.
Poeting.
Thank you.
To write.
Thank you.
I'm just going to read Hafez, because
Hafez.
Quite frankly, you cannot...
We love a bit of Hafez,
if
do we not?
Hafez or Hafiz is in the room, then, he has to go first. So here we go. Here's a Hafiz poem, 3 lines. One regret. One regret, dear world, that I am determined not to have when I am lying on my deathbed, is that I did not kiss you enough. Isn't that a bit gorge?
Yeah.
Isn't that a bit gorge? So he melts you, he melts your heart, and that's basically what poetry is for me as well.
Menopause.
I do fancy talking.
Come on, come on, people.
Come on, girl.
How is that for a link? Yes. I was thinking pause. It's the space between two things, and then I thought let's not go there. But when we were sitting in, I don't know, the departure land of Dubai airport, I'm guessing that you wouldn't have thought a couple of years later you'd be working on that era. Just tell us a little bit about what took you there and what you're doing there.
Yeah. So I left kind of a corporate life to have a walkabout, and a few things happened. When you kind of calm down and start taking everything in, I started to think I might want to do something on my own. I had a few job interviews and I thought I don't want to work for any of these people, so maybe I want to do something on my own. And so, okay, what would I do? And I had a really formative experience with a book, which is pretty consistent in my life. I read Invisible Women, which is this amazing book about the gender data gap. And you kind of come away from that, well, specifically chapter 10, like it was very formative. Like the world was not designed for women. So anything that only happens to women, there probably are no goods and services for, or they certainly aren't up to snuff. And so I started thinking about that and talking to different people about, you know, what do women need? What do we want to buy? We have money and power and we have needs. And so if I go to the shop, are there the things I need for that? And at the time, I was talking to a few friends, and the 10-year period of menopause came up, and it just became really clear to me that there was an investment thesis in the idea that women want to buy goods and services designed for them. It's like no more complicated than that. And that they also deserve them. And so I started, so I started talking to doctors, I started talking to women, I talked to my mom about menopause for the first time ever, which was also a shock to me because we're pretty open, like how didn't that happen? Yeah, and then I met a co-founder and we started a business. It's called Vera Health, which a lot of people call Vira, so no worries. We're building an app to support women to manage their symptoms in an ongoing way, personalized to their needs. It's cool. And I will say, everyone's interested. Like, I haven't had a kind of negative experience of why are you doing that, or, the world doesn't need that. The kind of open response, like, oh yeah, why aren't there better things out there? Or why aren't we talking about this more? It's actually been quite refreshing in that way.
So it's a little bit like Emma, it's kind of an area that people don't kind of marginalize, they don't really talk about. Susie, is this of interest to psychologists, and have you done work on the menopause and stuff like that?
Well,
Where are you with it?
Funnily enough, we've just done a big cover with Mariella Frostrop, who was, fronted the menopause program, which was amazing. We've just had Caitlin Moran in the magazine, who also was talking about midlife. And I love this idea of, the estrogen starts leaving our body, and the great thing, we're liberated. This idea of that we just don't care anymore. and it's interesting, we're talking about community. I think I may be wrong and I may be sexist, but there's a lot of communities that feel like they're created by women, and we pull it together and we weave that together. And I'm wondering, as we go forward, I'm menopausal, and I'm seeing many of my friends go out in the world and they're like, okay, family life done, right. And I don't know whether they're going to create community. Although our next cover is with Ruby Wax, and she is all about community, but she's slightly older. So maybe there's a part, first of all, where we all get incredibly selfish and do what we want to do after all the child rearing and all of that. And then we come back to stuff. But I do think around creating community and connection is the route to happiness, but I think there is that space as women. We either are using all that estrogen to nurture. It may not be a family, but it may be a business, or we're nurturing, and then your estrogen falls off a cliff, or sometimes it does, and then all of a sudden you're liberated. You're free from doing all that nurturing. I mean, there's so many of my friends are leaving their husbands. They're like, I don't care about him anymore. See you, bye. And you're like, oh, really? And it's just because they're free and they're liberated. There was that amazing... But
this isn't something we're necessarily recommending. My wife is sitting over there. Just Susie. That's Susie's point of view, but it's not endorsed by the green room. Just saying.
But I think it's interesting, but I think there's an adjustment for families, for the teenagers, for the husbands, that all of a sudden the woman is going, what about me? What about my needs? What do I want? What do I want to do? And you're right, all of a sudden we're coming center stage, and what I feel like the drums are beating, and it's like lots of women are going, right, yes, and this intense creativity and this intense, I don't know, just it's being unleashed. I feel really excited about what's happening right now for women of our age. I think there's, and kind of showing and modeling that for younger women and saying, okay, this is what it looks like. There's no longer this kind of invisible wall. I don't feel that at all.
Yeah.
It's not about invisible. We're freed from the male gaze.
So Gib, I thought of menopause and making the connection there. What I was
quite
thinking
alarmed.
was community and also a kind of awakening. I think what Susie's saying is sometimes there's a physical change that happens in people that kind of awakens people. You've had your own experiences, which you probably need a whole green room to
Not of
explore them, but
menopause.
you've had your own sort of awakenings. Anything you want to say about that related to the idea of deceleration? There's a beautiful community you're creating in and around Butte, this gorgeous island. Any little insights?
Well, Butte itself is an amazing community. I grew up there. You may have detected a slight Scottish accent from me, despite the audiovisual challenges. And actually, when you were speaking about refugees earlier on as well, this community in a UK that has been fairly pathetic in terms of the refugees they've taken on, the Isle of Butte community has taken on 25 Syrian refugee families, which is amazing, and they've been integrated really, really well. There's been some programs in the BBC about that, which is great. Well, when I was a kid, it was 8,000 or so, and it's probably 5,000 or 6,000 now. And one of the challenges it's had is people leave and go to the bright lights of London, where you are, to seek their fortune, like I tried to do. The dim lights of London, and the shady places of London. The decelerator you mentioned, it's really, I've come from the sort of side of business that where everything has been going faster and bigger and accelerating and profit, I'm always wondering, well, what if we went in a slightly different direction? What actually if the best way of changing both ourselves and our organizations might actually start by slowing down? And then found a derelict farm on this island, and it's a place that I want to bring business people, like I am, and connect them to things like music and improv and art and this community, and kind of really open up that right brain that tends to atrophy in business, and connect to people's soul in some way, which I know these are not words that we normally use in business, but that's what I'm trying to do.
I wake up every morning stretching and yawning, waiting for something fast to come. If I don't get there quick, I could start to feel real sick. I'm waiting for that rage to come. Make it fast-paced, make it quick, otherwise you'll get some stick from me. I need it speedy.
Espy, you are a very gifted, I'm not sure how we describe what you do with those cards, whether it's tarot or whatever the hell it is, but you have a way of tapping into the archetypes and helping. I know for me, we've worked together for a fair old while on various aspects of spirituality and so on, but I always get a real kick from the insights I get when you do tarot, right? So I wonder whether you could, we're sitting in London, where everything's going fine, by the way. Everything is fine. And we are, gosh, this is a rare moment for us. We're in a room together. The last time I saw many of these people was the last time I was in a big room was when we were doing a concert together and stuff. And then there was a lockdown, and they're threatening another lockdown. Danny was saying to me, maybe you should stop getting us together, because it maybe. But so there's a good element of like not knowingness. We certainly are dealing with lots of complacency and people thinking they're knowing which way. But I wondered if there's anything that we could, by connecting a bit with the archetypes the way you do, you could like give us a bit of a steering.
As you know, in order to have an indication that makes a little bit of sense, we need to have a clear question, because answers are normally already in the questions. So can you specify the question?
Okay, so selfishly, I feel like I'd like to ask a question for this green room experiment, which is the first time we've done it this way, and I think for me, it's my version of what you guys are doing, which is sort of seeking to create a communal space that we can play in. I know I see many people around the room who are doing that in their ways. I mean, we could ask about how more people could enjoy this. Vanessa will just say, get people to subscribe to. And by the way, where are you? Do subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, light us up. But anyway, or maybe we could ask about, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't ask the question, the way forward for Britain. That could take a while. But help me, Espy, what would be the accurate frame, do you think? What would be, from what you're hearing?
Maybe it could be in which way this beautiful experiment that you're putting together, creating this space for people to really, open up and share in this way, which is quite unusual, especially these times, could even be, which is the best way for it to serve people even more.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, okay, that's the question, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so, Espy, what do we do next?
So that is my tarot deck, and now from there I'm going to pick a couple of cards and see what they would like to tell us, okay?
Okay.
And think of this and I pretend that you're here. Very nice. So the first card, this is like the Knight of Discs. And so this is a card that indicates that it's the beginning of something and you have space to perfect it. So it's very good when you're done, feedback. And then as you progress, you will be able to have new ideas and even more enthusiasm
so
to
that's
do this.
what they call in business appreciative feedback, which is there's plenty of space to improve things. We hear you. Thank you for that.
And this is already starts from a very good. This is saying what you're doing is very good.
Okay.
Because we are talking about.
We're feeling better. We're feeling better.
Yeah, it's not about you have to improve because it's not good. This says it's very good, and therefore you can even tap into more and more creativity.
Perfect.
That's what you got.
Oh, and then that's interesting. We have a major arcana, so here we are really talking about archetypes, and this is the Hermit. So in this context, I would say this card indicates that it's important that you help people and those who are there with you, all of us there, maybe to find a way to go deeper inside themselves. So maybe this meetings, even though of course they're joyous and creative, could end with a question, could end with a theme that we can take home and say, oh, this was really entertaining, beautiful, but the things that we share are so important. And what could be one common thing that at the end you can distill from what everybody has been saying as the theme for us to continue thinking about.
Do we get any more? Could we do a couple more?
One more. Okay.
Oh, one more. Okay.
You get one more.
We get one more.
Interesting. Okay, so we have another major arcana.
Just Espy, just one thing. British people, when you say interesting, it causes us to go knots in our stomach because it's not a good. But this is an Italian interesting, right?
Oh, it's a super interesting.
Matto.
It really is really good because
crazy.
We have another major arcana, which means again that what you're doing is important because these cards refer to the greater archetypes of the history of the universe, the history of humanity. So picking 2 out of 3, it means what you're doing is momentous. It's important. This was a good idea. And this is the card of the 0. So this is the card that is interesting because it really refers to creativity. If we look at this in the idea of the creation of the universe, for instance, it represents the moment even before the Big Bang. It represents the moment in which everything is pure potential, and then it gets together, and as it enters time, we start having events. But this is before. So it's really telling you, so important to continue going deep into this idea of creativity, of improvising. We need more of this.
Improper are super happy about it. You're a genius. I loved it, by the way, Emma, when you said your job is being myself.
Yeah.
I thought that was say what you meant by that. While I'll hold that other thought, by the way.
I guess it's that thing about kind of bringing your whole self to work, and actually, I think it's a really important thing that, we spoke about, Andrea spoke about the fact that she's kind of been struggling with and she's kind of slipped very well into the Zoom kind of being herself all the time. And actually, I find with Parkinson's, that's kind of done the same for me. I have to kind of be myself all the time. I can't pretend to be anything I'm not, because actually my frailties and my weaknesses and everything is on show. And I find I make deeper connections because of that. But actually, I can't be anyone other than me. And so actually I find my job is being me, which is lovely. I mean, I'm okay at it. I do an all right job at being me, I think.
The innocence you talk about, the unstained not knowingness that this working with these beautiful people has forced me into, is that you let go of kind of what you were planning, but something better comes up. And I think that nudged me towards Street Wisdom, which is this non-profit that's, I don't know if we run it or it runs us, but it's in 62 countries now around the world and growing. And what we do is say, let the mind wander and we'll follow it. You start find where it wanders and what's beautiful about that. So anyway, Street Wisdom is grown into all these countries because they're all over the world are volunteered street leaders who volunteer to lead the workshops. And I do believe, if we're lucky, we'll be able to talk to one of them in Nairobi. Is that going to be possible? Oh my. So I'm hoping that we're talking to Antonia.
Hello.
Antonia Kihara, you're an entrepreneur, you run a branding company, you've set up a thinking space called Soul Food Cafe, you've got a background in psychotherapy and fashion. I don't know if it's fashion and then psychotherapy, whatever. And from the conversations we've had, you are officially a bucket of sunshine. Ladies and gentlemen, say hi to Antonia.
Hello, can you hear me?
Antonia, when I met you, I just thought, boy, we need to spend some hours together, but we've got like 5 minutes. Give us a sense, if you would. We've been asking everybody, what is life on stage for you like? When you're on stage, on the stage of your life at the moment, what is that like for you in Nairobi?
Like post-COVID, you mean, or like?
Like whatever. Like what is your reality at the moment?
Okay, well, post-COVID, I mean, I really enjoyed the conversation about being slow, and that's what I've really been enjoying, is just being slow. The other thing that I've been contemplating is just how we live and work, and I kind of feel like we've all been overworking and overreaching and overdoing. So part of my work as well is kind of getting everyone to kind of, if we all operate slowly, it's also great for the climate as well. So I'm really passionate about the climate, and those are the things that kind of occupy my mind. We are locked down. This is my son. Hi. It's not terrible in Nairobi. We're not terribly locked down, but we are definitely more stuck together than we've ever been. Which is interesting. He's here, that's how stuck we are.
How does he feel about it?
Well, we've done Street Wisdom together before, and actually today we did a Street Wisdom in the house, in a room.
Oh, beautiful.
Because I wanted to understand, how you would do it off the streets.
Yeah.
So we did it in our living room, which is interesting. And we noticed things that we've not noticed, living here for 4 years. It was really crazy, like in our own living room.
That's amazing. Antonio, you've simultaneously discovered something we've been working on, which is called Street Wisdom Comes Home. And for the last, all the way through COVID, we've been trying things in our house. So Philip has been sitting and you thought he was just playing with his laptop, but he's basically been gestating. And have you got a poem for us, or did we do a poem?
I really wanted to do a pantoum for you, which is like a sonnet, or it's like a form, so it's like a sonnet, but it's a pantoum where you get repeated lines. You've all said these words. Regardez les oiseaux, ils fly dans le ciel. Are we going to have a magical night tonight? I love the slight technical hitches. It makes it real. What is your onstage, and how do you get off stage? Are we going to have a magical night tonight? It's really weird. I'm hearing everything twice. What is your onstage, and how do you get off stage? Oh, look, it's somebody I know. I'll wave at them. It's really weird. I'm hearing everything twice. Can you get stage fright virtually? Zoom fright? Oh look, it's somebody I know. I'll wave at them. Ah, Mars space, the space between the notes that make the music. Can you get stage fright virtually? Zoom fright? Let's join Gibbs Gospel Choir in Geneva. Ah, Mars space, the space between the notes that make the music. I shall make the best of the blue sweater. It'll have to do. Let's join Gibbs Gospel Choir in Geneva. I'm not a gags, a plenty person. My job is being myself. I shall make the best of my blue sweater. It will have to do. Is there anybody who speaks Icelandic with a Finnish back belt? I'm not a gags, a plenty person. My job is being myself. You may have detected my accent. I'm from Butte. Is there anybody here who speaks Icelandic with a Finnish backbeat? Be careful what you wish for. You're still on mute. You may have detected my accent. I'm from Butte. Women deserve goods and services designed for them. Be careful what you wish for. You're still on mute. The next Buddha will be a group, not a person. And Neil's a speed addict. He finds it hard to slow down. Regardez les oiseaux. Ils fly dans le ciel. Bless you. We need a new innocence to look things through. I love the slight technical hitches. It makes it real.
Simon Heath.
Oh God, I get to follow that.
You get to follow that. Simon has been. I don't know what the word is. Sketching, playing, doodling. Take us through, if you would.
We had a French opening. There's no innuendo there. I like there's a goat here. There was a thing about the goat. It's a bit of an in-joke because I'm not sure how well that translated out. I like the idea that the finger drawing in blood. And we're taking our mask off and there are no judgments. I like that. And that ties in with all this stuff about being ourselves, right? Sending love to the Zoom-stricken in Mars space. Finding our offstage. Icelandic with a Finnish backbeat. I couldn't draw Finnish or Icelandic, so I've drawn Norwegian, I think. COVID-19 versus the blue sweater. I kind of like that mashup. We're still on mute. There's an empty space in the middle of the page here. That's our space to breathe. The idea of being nice to strangers, but we're awful to our loved ones. And then Emma was talking, and I was transfixed. I said, sometimes somebody is so fucking awesome, no pictures happen. And the idea of some things are too important to take seriously, the fuck it list. So I'm going to swear, because I do that normally, so I'm being myself. I like this idea of community, not community. There's a drum here. Philip was beating the drum for his loves. Refreshing the world. And I've got the big pause button here for the menopause. I think, do you know what? I love the idea that the women are leaving their husbands. I think men need to get over themselves, right? The world is not designed for women, and women who buy Caroline's book because it's amazing. Women want to buy stuff designed for them. The idea of the menopause is a liberation and the awakening. And then we're on to the musical Speed Freaks. My friends, that's amazing. Speed Freaks are taking it slow, yearning for connection and consciousness, bringing your hermit with you, and the idea of momentous potential. Thank you in the tarot cards and the movement that David has started, bringing our whole self to everything we do. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. Practical mindfulness, open to uncertainty, and tuning into our inner wisdom, listening to clues from the earth and the moon cycles. There we have it.
I want to thank all of our guests. That's a cue for thing. And I want us to thank the audience. King's Place, please. Kings and Queens, this is the perfect place. So thank you, stars aligning so that we could do this here. It's the perfect place to be doing this, and may we do it lots. So what I thought we would do is end as Asperide in the cards told us, which is end on a question. And so I asked you guys if you had a question, the kind of question we could be asking. The one I came in with was, how do we find our way together? Because we need to find our way together. There's this lovely image that I think the Chinese use of you come to a river you don't know, and you find your way across it by feeling your way over the stones, and you feel your way through trial and error. So that's what I was thinking. The question might be, how do we find our way together? But you'll have come up with something better. Any question you think deserves, should be the question that we ask as we leave the room.
Well, I thought as Faraday said, what do we have in common, actually? And the thing that came to my mind was, build it and they will come.